Hey everyone, Brian here. It is Friday, August 7th, but it feels like it could be any day in the last 4 or 5 months at Anytown, USA. It feels like everything's kind of just jumbled together in a big old ball of just acrimony. Tonight's Smackdown was not a very good episode of Smackdown, folks. I'm just going to open with that right now. Left a lot more questions than answers. But I will say, before I dive into SmackDown and what I liked and didn't like about it, I just want to give a brief little plug to talk about Talkin' Shopomania, which was Gal's and Anderson's big pay-per-view extravaganza that took place that debuted this weekend on Fight TV. And I finally watched it last night, and believe the hype, folks. It is an amazing show. When they call it the worst pay-per-view ever, they are not joking. It is really bad. Like, if you come to that thing looking for like good wrestling, you just better, walk your ass out the door, because you're not going to find it there. It's not a place to celebrate wrestlers doing wrestling things. It's a show where, a bunch of friends decide to goof off for a weekend at Luke Gallows' property, and they just have a good fun time. They rib themselves, they rib others. There's lots of crazy, cameo appearances from some people you've probably not seen in quite a long time. It was just a lot of fun to watch that show, which is why it's so horrifying that I had to stumble upon the SmackDown tonight afterward. I feel that there's something wrong with this picture. Also, I just realized that I forgot to plug in my Ethernet to the laptop, so that's why the signal might not be great. Well, there's no drop frames yet, so I guess we're doing okay at the moment. Ethernet's a lie. Let's talk about SmackDown this week, because there is a bit to discuss. But I will say, if you've not seen Talkin' Shopomania, go do yourself a favor and check it out. It's only $15 for 90 minutes of just pure entertainment. I loved it, and I hope you do too. Let's open with the show for SmackDown. I'm actually going to pull up my lower third here before I forget, so you'll see all the lovely matches that took place tonight. The show begins with a recap of what happened with the Fiend's shenanigans on Alexa Bliss, and then Firefly Funhouse happens, and Bray. All the pictures that were on the background of Bray's set are now just pictures of Braun with the championship, and Bray basically blames Braun for what happened to Alexa last week, and he says, it just tells Braun to just give him, being the Fiend, what he wants. Otherwise, Alexa will be in even more trouble. We go to our first matchup from this, and it's Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Sheamus not wearing the bar hooligan stuff like he was last week in that promo, so that doesn't seem to be a permanent look for him, though that was his picture on the matchup screen when they came out of break. It's a pretty good competitive matchup until Shorty G runs in and attacks Matt Riddle, tries to get the bounty. The match ends in a DQ. Riddle beats the hell out of Shorty G, and then after Matt's declared the winner, I love Matt's face. It's like he's doing the celebration. It's like, don't blame me, blame this guy. I'm gonna go smoke a doobie, that sort of thing. So he's gone. And then afterwards, Sheamus jumps Shorty G and beats the hell out of him. So boy, that heel turn for Shorty G, I should say. I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth turning heel and being on a stooge for King Corbin, because this is your fate now. It's the beginning of the year all over again with reversed roles, because that was the little micro feud that Sheamus was involved in when he came back, was against Shorty G. But how things have changed, how 6 or 7 months have changed. Backstage, Sheamus confronting King Corbin about how Shorty G cost the match. Sheamus with some strong words toward Corbin, who basically walks away from the situation. And they sure seem to be turning Sheamus face. That's the vibe I got from this segment and this episode. Is that, this is going to be the episode that is the vehicle for Sheamus's face turn. Which, I don't know about that, because I'm trying to think, if you don't include his time as part of the Bar, where even they were kind of tweeners, kind of lovable tweeners in a way, Sheamus has not been a babyface in a long time. I'm trying to think of when it was. Like, what I can vividly remember is when they tried to make him like John Cena 2.0 as a babyface. Now, obviously, I would hope they don't go that route. I hope that they do with Sheamus what they basically did with Drew McIntyre, where they changed so little about his overall character and his demeanor, and just kind of made him more of like an affable kind of good guy. just made it more endearing slightly. So hopefully we'll see some more of that, and not the John Cena 2.0 we saw so many years ago. Our next segment is the Dirt Sheet with Sonya Deville as the guest. So first up, the mics are cutting out. Oh boy! And every time there's those technical glitches again tonight, and every time they happen now, it's like, oh gosh, it's Retribution. Like they're just totally giving it away. And so then they bring up what happened with Sonya and Mandy last week with the hair cutting and whatnot. And their first guest is Mandy Rose's hair. It's a blonde wig with googly eyes and is on the big screen. And Miz and Morrison are doing the falsetto voice like this because it's a lady's hairpiece. And the visual of Miz and Morrison with their backs to the screen, like they're not talking to it, is a really weird visual. That to me was so... just made it seem like just not engaged at all in what I saw with that one. It was very weird dynamic. And then afterward, you've got, I will say, they're trying to get Hair Yeah over. So I'll give them credit. They're trying their best here. If Chris Jericho can make every promo into a t-shirt, then why not let Miz and Morrison get that right in WWE? Let them just say stupid shit, and then they put it on a shirt the same week, and they'll sell like gangbusters. Just put them in Breezango in that position, and I think you'll have it's a license to print money. So their guest is the real victim of what happened last week, Sonya Deville. Sonya has no time for Miz and Morrison's stupid jokes, but I feel they missed a really big opportunity here, not busting Miz and Morrison's balls for not taking it seriously like she was. Like, this is my life. What are you dumbasses making jokes for? Because they are making a lot of jokes as she's trying to talk and everything. Sonya's incensed that Mandy and Otis won an award for the Bumpies for making out, and so then after more making fun of by Miz and Morrison, out come Heavy Machinery to run them out. Hey, remember that Otis has the briefcase? Because I'm not sure they do. Like I said, I think it was an okay bit. I mean, Miz and Morrison, I love their act, and sometimes they're stronger some weeks than they are in others. This one was not their best performance, but like I said, I think they missed a big opportunity not to get shut down by Sonya, because it makes Sonya, it shows more how unhinged she's getting through all this, how she doesn't care what other people think. So I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity on that side. They can still be friends, they can still work together, which you see later on in the night, but just have that moment where Sonya kind of sets the stage, lets them know that, hey, no time for fucking around here. We get Cesaro versus Lince Dorado up next. The whole thing started over the championship celebration that they had for all 30 seconds on SmackDown last week, and Lucha House Party say that it was whack, so that's why they're going to try and fight them here in this matchup. Get more flickering lights as the more of the botches happen. It's a darn good little match, and it really gets me going, like, oh my gosh, the wheels are turning in my head about how exciting a tag title match of these two teams are going to be at some point. All four of those guys, all the flips, all the strikes, and all the slaps, and all the athletics and everything, it's going to be great. So I'm definitely kind of keeping a finger, I'm putting a pin in it for that one. I can't wait for that match to eventually happen. Like I said, it's a darn good little match here. Lince has some moments to shine in singles competition. We don't see that very often on SmackDown. Cesaro hits the uppercut and the neutralizer to win. And that's pretty much how it goes. Like I said, it just all it did was kind of whet my appetite for what we'll see when we get that inevitable tag team match. So, good on that front. And it's the only match of the night that doesn't end in a DQ. Spoiler alert. Backstage, Otis is mad about what happened earlier on the dirt sheet. He's tired of the jokes and says they can make fun of him because he's dealt with it all his life, but not his peeps. And then the promo felt kind of awkward to me because it felt that Tucker and Otis didn't jump on each other's cues fast enough, and they were just all these awkward silences in between their lines. The whole vibe just kind of felt weird. But these guys will face Mizmo later tonight. And by the way, I think that Mizmo should really be their name because I'm tired of typing in Miz and Morrison every time when I'm writing notes. The Fiend shows up live in living color in the ring, does the whole entrance with the theme and the lantern and everything, which kind of, I don't know, it feels less powerful when he does it there. We go to commercial break, and then we come back, and then all of a sudden he's in the ring, and Alexa Bliss is down on the ground again with Bray standing over her. I don't know how that happened. Did she teleport? Is this some kind of interpretive dance? By the way, Alexa Bliss is selling the Fiend and is less visibly scared of him than Seth Rollins was. Remember how scared Seth looked last year, the Build a Hell in a Cell, how the Fiend was all up in his face, he's whimpering like that, and that was their Universal Champion. And Alexa Bliss looks tougher than him. What the fuck? Anyway, they're doing this whole shtick where Bray is doing an interpretive dance around Alexa, and he's like stalking her and like sniffing her and shit. And so finally he goes to reach his hand out again, like he's gonna do the claw once again, but this time Alexa stops him and gently caresses his face, and he feels really conflicted about that. He backs away, like, he's shook. So what is going on? Is this like an illusion? Is this... I don't know what's happening here. Because then, finally to save us from this madness, Braun's voice pipes in, "Hey, Bray, you sadistic bastard." And then we see just a big-ass close-up of Braun Strowman. Like, he doesn't know how the screen works, so he's just, like, dead up on it. And he talks about how he doesn't give a damn about Alexa, which, damn, that's harsh. After the history they've had, all of a sudden, doesn't care about Alexa, just cares about beating up Bray. He says the evil inside him is finally coming out after what happened in the swamp fight. He is fulfilling his destiny. He is the monster. And he says that at SummerSlam, Bray will face his fears. He will face the monster. And, you know, that sure was something. What was going on with Bray and Alexa? Like, what was that whole thing about? Why did Braun say he didn't give a damn about Alexa? Has Braun mutated? What are we supposed to feel from this? Who am I supposed to root for now? I don't get it. Like, you've pushed Braun to this point. Like, how long is he going to keep that going? God, excuse me. I'm getting a little dry mouth here. Boy. So, yeah, that was... I don't know if I liked that one. That was not great. Jeff Hardy takes on King Corbin next. And, like the Matt Riddle-Sheamus match, it was a pretty good match until Sheamus hits Jeff Hardy with a bro kick on the outside. The match is thrown out. Tit for tat after what happened at the top of the show. So now 2 matches have been ruined in the same way. We then go to an impromptu match after the break between Sheamus and King Corbin. By the way, eagle-eyed observers would notice that the matchup screen they had for Sheamus in this one is different than the last time. So he's not in the bar getup anymore. He's in the actual just gear and everything. I never imagined I would live in a world where I enjoyed a moment where there was 2 King Corbin matches back-to-back, and I actually liked most of both of them. But that's the world we live in today, folks. That is probably the most surprising thing about 2020. The more I think about it, just thinking out loud. It ends when Matt Riddle just flies across the ring to distract Corbin, which is actually pretty funny. Sheamus hits the brogue kick to win. Just a seamless timing with that one. So Sheamus gets his win back. Riddle continues to be a thorn in King Corbin's side. Is the bounty still happening? I'm not entirely sure. Did they just give up after Shorty G failed so miserably? Is no one else interested in trying to make some money? You tell me Shorty G's the only one who cares about that? The entire locker room? Get out of here. And it feels like we're setting up for a tag team match next week where it's going to be Sheamus and Riddle versus, Shorty G and King Corbin. But are they really turning Sheamus face? I don't really know what to make of that. I don't know. That's just my thought right now on the subject. I think that there's a lot more you can do with Sheamus as a top heel, but I guess it depends on what they're going to do with the Universal Championship after SummerSlam. Like, there's a lot of different ways they could take that. Backstage, we see Sasha and Bayley have a chat. Bayley talks about how she's worried about, having to face Asuka on Monday, and Sasha's like, I'm not worried, which is just a great delivery. And she says, it's not about Asuka, it's about Uska. She said us, but I think she should have said Uska. It would have flowed just perfectly. A guy walks into the shot and tells them that they have to meet Stephanie McMahon in the ring for a video conference. Oh boy, Stephanie coming back in the authority figure of the women's division. We'll see how that shakes out. We then see Big E being interviewed elsewhere backstage. He talks about his accomplishments in the last 5 years, which include having his popcorn gifts still being widely used around the world. One of his proudest accomplishments, he says. He says the expectations of the fans and the blessing of his New Day brethren is not pressure to him, but it's something that lifts him up. Really good promo by Big E here. Still kind of invoking the New Day thing, which I think that if they want to kind of really make the singles run more serious, I think he needs to separate from the New Day branding. I don't know, don't totally strip it away, but don't make it kind of like a Roman Reigns situation where he never lost his gimmick after leaving the group. Find some kind of happy medium, I think. Maybe don't have him do the New Day Rocks chant. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm torn about that because the New Day still are around. They're not gone. So I don't know what to think about that. But I think that trying to separate him a little bit from the New Day gimmick. Maybe it's a gradual thing. It's probably too soon to be asking for that kind of cutoff right now. That's kind of how I feel about it, though. We then get the video conference with Stephanie in the ring. It's really weird because it starts out, this is a very, they don't use this angle very much, where it's like a tripod at like collarbone level for the ladies, and so it's kind of like below their eye level, and then you see just a straight shot of the screen and Stephanie's there. But again, their backs are to Stephanie at the beginning. They know where the video is going to play. Unless there's a TV that they're looking at, like from the camera, they think the camera is a monitor, then there's no, why are they their backs turned just to the screen? That was a weird visual. Again, in a night of weird visuals, and it gets even weirder for here. So anyway, Stephanie puts over Sasha and Bayley's accomplishments, and they talk about how they made a mockery of the stipulation that she made for the Raw Women's title match, 2 weeks ago. Oh, come on. Year 2000, newly turned heel Stephanie would have loved that shit, and you know it. Stephanie gives them a challenge. She says that Sasha will defend her title at SummerSlam, and it could be against Asuka, depending on how Monday goes, and says Bayley will face the winner of a triple brand battle royal happening next week. So between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, Bayley's made a lot of enemies, and so now it's coming back to bite her in the form of this battle royal, which opens up a lot of possibilities. There's several women she has feuded with in the last several months, and I think you could make an argument at this point for any of them, because they're all kind of on the same playing field right now, as far as I can tell. Assuming Asuka goes to have the rematch with Sasha, and that leaves like who else really kind of like to fit. I think it could really open things up in that regard. I was talking more about, a couple weeks ago, how they've put Stephanie in this kind of Jack Tunney role for the women right now. And like I said, you kind of need someone like that to guide that part of the story along. And who else are you really going to get? There's no other babyface female in the company right now who can stand up to Bayley and Sasha and even be kind of a messenger for any of this. Asuka's the closest you can get, but she can only go so far in promos, and she is only on one brand. So Stephanie kind of is that kind of omnipotent force who can appear in all the brands and stuff. But man, between her coming back and Shane McMahon doing Raw Underground, clearly McMahon equals ratings. The mantra lives again. Backstage, Ms. Mo are with Sonya, and the guys are asked by Kayla if they regret poking the bear tonight on the dirt sheet, and in short, no, they are not. Sometimes they say good comedy offends. I've heard that defense before on Twitter for a lot worse jokes than what Miz and Morrison used tonight. More zingers, and then after the break, we get our, main event of the evening as Miz and Morrison take on Heavy Machinery. I love seeing Sonya Deville comes out with them, and I love that she's part of the slow-mo entrance, crazy psycho hair and slow-mo. That was a good look, I thought. It's a good match, and as it goes on, though, Mandy Rose with her new haircut runs in and jumps Sonya. They get in the ring, and the match just ends. Lovely. We get a pull-apart brawl with the ladies. The men are having a hard time containing. So like I said, all but the Cesaro-Lindsay match ended in some kind of bullshit finish or some interference or some DQ. Hooray. And then we go to commercial breaks before the end of the show. We come back to it. The brawl still happening backstage with the lights cut out. And then all of a sudden, we see another slap in the face out of the mouth and there. Retribution, which is totally not an allegory for Antifa or the Black Lives Matter protesters in any way possible, shape, or form. This is not political in the least. Storms the ring, and they chase everyone out with bats and other weapons. They go behind the plexiglass. They beat up the crowd members, which seems very antithetical to the whole social distancing thing. Retribution are wearing masks, but they don't cover their mouths, so it's a messy thing. They spray paint all over the ring and the glass and the ramp. One dude's got a chainsaw. He's cutting up the ropes. And then at the very end, you see him holding up the chainsaw, and at the bottom of the screen, Smackdown, presented by Progressive, which I'm sure they're so thrilled. Progressive's thanks a lot for the plug, guys. I'm glad we have our name on this lovely visual. It felt like the Nexus debut, only way shittier, was the best way to describe this thing. Just on a production level, it was so hard to look at. You thought there were a lot of quick cuts in Raw Underground matches this week. Lord! Ooh, child, there was a lot of bad cuts here in this, and the cameras were shaking, and the cuts were quick, and, oh, God, I got dizzy watching the thing. It was so miserable. And then, of course, there is the obvious allusion to the Antifa thing with all black and the mask, which, great! Now we gotta inject that whole argument about the protests and everything into my shows. That's going to be in the comment section now. I got to parse through that bullshit every week. Thanks, WWE. I really appreciate that. Let's just bring this whole thing that we try and use wrestling to escape from and bring it right into your front door, right from the headlines, these storylines. By making this obvious allegory with Antifa, BLM, what happened with Retribution, does that mean that WWE, depending on your perspective, paints themselves as fascists if Antifa is short for anti-fascism? But again, I don't want to do the whole debate here. That's not what this is for. Because to one side of people, you've got a group full of baby faces. If they even like... Oh my God, they're as baby faces, but they're treated as heels, or, you know, to another part of the audience, you've made them just flat out heels, because that is the enemy, as what we've been led to believe. There's so much loaded imagery with this, it can only end badly. It is so hard to comprehend. Like, everyone wants a new nation of domination. This is the closest I think you're going to get to a new nation, and I don't think you could do a new nation in 2020 like you could in 97, but that's what we're getting, and I'm not thrilled about that for so many reasons. The fact that they are kind of like portraying this as, you know, and like they can deny it all they want, but this is definitely inspired by the protesters. And I have friends, very good friends, who were peaceful protesters for weeks and weeks in Portland. And on that level, it just kind of like, it pisses me off that is like Vincent Mann's interpretation of what that is down there, and so we got to make that the bad guy. It's like, why are you going to put that in the programming? Again, you know, and there's some people who say it's very aces and eights, which, yeah, I think you could make that argument a few years ago. I think that with what's going on in the world right now, to have a group like that showing up is really tone deaf and really bad timing. I think if that wasn't happening and you had that group without that context, I wouldn't have minded so much. But the fact that it is so close, so that's why, I can see kind of like aces and eights vibes. But again, timing and context are everything. It wouldn't be so bad though. And I will say though, I think it's like I said, very big risk. It cannot end well. I think they run the risk of alienating people on both sides of the political spectrum, no matter what you think about the protests and what your opinion of Antifa is or Black Lives Matter. No matter where you are, you're probably going to get pissed off if this thing is happening. You know, some of you might, and some of you might, you know, find this to be the breaking point. I don't know if it's the breaking point for me at this point. I've seen a lot of shit, but this is just like, it just seems like it's this other level right now. And it wouldn't be so bad if their arrival wasn't always foretold by what looked like production botches, because it just, you know, I've had more time to think about this after what happened on Raw when it first began. It just, you know, excuse me, God bless them, I'm getting a little dry mouth here. But yeah, it looks like a bad production. It looks like there's problems there, and it just makes the whole product look bad. And now they have to say every time it happens, they go, oh, it's Retribution. Which, if you're just tuning in and you don't know what the fuck that is, like, okay, well, whatever buzzwords you have now, it just makes the whole thing look terrible. So that is my thoughts on Retribution in a nutshell. Let me tell you how I feel. Let's go now to the grade. I think this is one of the worst Smackdowns I've seen in a while. I give it a D-. I think that, you know, on one level, I got the story arc with Sheamus and Corbin. DQ begets DQ, leads to final confrontation here. Not the final, it's a confrontation here. But when the theme of the night is screwy finishes, maybe we can do without the screwy finishes in the matches that don't have to do with the story arc, or at least in the main event, after you had like 2.5 matches ending in DQ, like that one with Matt Riddle was almost a DQ. If a match can be thrown out because two women who aren't in the match just get in the ring when no one else is in there, why the fuck didn't the bell ring when Matt Riddle flew across the ring in that last match? Like, what the... where is your logic? Where are the... I don't quite understand that. I think the face-off with The Fiend and Braun Strowman would have been 10 times better if Alexa Bliss was not involved, because I'm not sure what that was about, and I'm not sure how that paints Braun in a positive light to say I don't give a damn about Alexa, when like we've been led to believe for like a couple years now you guys are like really good friends. Like, now you're a monster. Great. And everything I just mentioned about Retribution are the reasons that I give this a low grade for the week. Just a minute. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sitting through that, folks. 24 minutes took to get through this. Although you can subtract about 90 seconds because I was plugging Talking Shop and Mania before that. Great show, by the way. So if you have not seen it, go check it out. like I mentioned at the top of the show. It's not good wrestling, but it's just damn good entertainment. It's a bunch of guys, a bunch of wrestlers cracking jokes, making each other laugh, and taking shots at themselves and at others, and it's all in good fun, and it's just like, it was the kind of joy that I needed yesterday after watching it and everything. So now we are going to go and skim back up my list of super chats. By the way, thank you all to the 654 of you who are watching tonight. I really appreciate that. Thank you for spending part of your Friday night with moi as I get increasingly glistening with the AC off here in this shed. Quote the Raven 79 with a 499 super chat. I believe the key to defeating the Fiend is not involving a man but a woman like a final girl in a horror film. Alexa hinted at that tonight. And then he adds later, another $5 super chat. Remember, Alexa Bliss is a horror fan. Where's Freddy gear? That would be interesting to have kind of a twist, being that Alexa is like the Fiend's downfall, but I think the Fiend is it's still, I think, too fresh a character to have a downfall like that. Like, we need to care about the Fiend, and like, you can't just give him like one big win and then like he's spooky and then he loses. You know, I feel this character, I don't know, I feel that Bray Wyatt keeps putting himself in these characters where they're really good on the surface and they feel really deep, but they're kind of predicated on the fact that if you don't win, then why the fuck are you there? And he keeps being put in this position where he doesn't win, and I don't know where that disconnect is, and I wish I knew what the ultimate solution was going to make everyone happy. Inigo Montoya with a $5 super chat. Miz and Morrison are his 2006 DX. Couple of dudes making dad jokes. Yes, but you know what? I would argue that Miz and Morrison are better at it, because Shawn Michaels and Triple H, when they reunited to form DX, which, to remind you, is all about anti-establishment, who in WWE history has been more establishment throughout their careers than the boss's son-in-law Triple H and multiple-time world champion and frequent backstage politicker Shawn Michaels? Yeah, real anti-authority, those guys. So I buy Miz and Morrison as a 2006 DX a lot more than I buy 2006 DX as 2006 DX. Nola Gale with a $5 super chat. Regarding Alexa and Seth's reactions to Bray, Braun is fight, Seth is flight, Alexa is freeze. The three main reactions to being frightened. That's a good way of putting it, I guess. Yeah, that's acceptable. I take that. Draugr with $5 Canadian. I've been training for an indie event that might not even happen, working on a new finisher, and still have the ugliest Rana. More of a powerhouse anyway. Samoan Spike. There you go. You're welcome. Quote the Raven with $2 super chat. Is Sonya becoming Victoria 2.0? There's a lot of allegories there between Sonya and Victoria. There's like, I brought this up last week about, you know, like the psycho lesbian angle and how, you know, it's been a few years. I think we could bring this one back. They're not bringing like, I feel that when Victoria did it, it was more overtly sexual, even though they never really went all the way with it. Like, they gave you enough red flags for it. They gave you the tattoo theme, and they had her literally licking some lady's face at one point. But I don't think they ever came out and actually said anything about, like, you know, about the lesbianic tendencies of Victoria, so to speak. So, yeah, I get that. And, of course, they're both dark-haired ladies. So, like, there's even more comparison with that. But, yeah, I don't know if they need to go with, like, the, you know, I loved you, you broke my heart kind of route. But, I mean, like it helps. I can't argue that it helps. BW Rosas, $2. Who do I think are the members of Retribution? That, I think, is the biggest alluring factor to me right now of all this, is who's actually in the group. You know, it's men and it's women. But no one looks like terribly imposing. No one looks like a big brute of any of those guys. They're all wearing big baggy clothes, so it's hard to tell their physiques anyway. But, like, even the height, a lot of the men and women seem to be the same height. So who do you have? Like, who's in that height bracket? Or not the same height, but similar height, where it's like, it's not these giant dudes in the group. But if any group needs a Chungus, like the Ninjas, then Retribution needs a Chungus. Am I right, folks? So who's in it? I mean, I'd imagine it's going to be a bunch of people we don't know. Like, I think that it's fun to think if it's somebody that we do know. Like, oh, it's somebody we've already seen on NXT, and they'll come with this new gimmick. That's still possible, but I would be more in line with the theory that it's a bunch of people we don't know. And so we're kind of like going to meet them. Not every not every person who goes to the Performance Center has like been on television. Like Braun Strowman is the biggest example I can think of for that. I'm trying to think of some other examples, but right now kind of like it's a blank. I say lots of examples, and like I can think of one person. So what the fuck do I know? I hope whatever it is, the resolution of that, I hope that like there's a good reason for it. I hope the motive is there. Like you better have a good fucking backstory and a good motivation for why you are invoking the stuff you are invoking with a storyline. The payoff had better be worth it, is what I'm saying. Valab Mamidi Pewdie, hope I said that right, with 100, I don't know what currency that symbol is. It looks like something out of a video game, but thank you. Thank you for 100 of them. He also got an Aces and Eights vibe from it. Inigo Montoya, $5 super chat. Vince, fascism, it's such good. Well, you know. That's Bruce chiming in. Well, you know. Kellen McIntyre, $10 super chat. Question from an artist working on a webcomic. I'm such a fucking idiot. I wanted to try and say webcomic in a funny way, but I fucked that up. So, question from an artist working on a webcomic about pro wrestling. What would you say are the key elements that make a good-looking championship belt design? That's a good question, and I want to open this up with the chat as well. I think, for me, having a lot of those cool little details, which I forget what they're called now. I saw Chris Bay mention it once on Facebook, I think. The ornate little... I don't really want to grab my belt right now. It looks so pretty where it is. But like the detailed stuff that you see like in the open space of the belts. I like that. A good looking, whatever the hell you call that, is really nice. Jewels. Love me some jewels. Love me some gemstones in like the corners or in some kind of arrangement. I think that can always make a really good pop. Again, being a little biased toward my championship belt over there. Silver belts instead of gold are always different. They're unique. But I think like as far as like, I think center plate has to be a good shape. That's the biggest thing I look at is the center plate, obviously. Legible text. Bold if you want. You can go the classic route, have it really thin and ornate, that sort of thing. But I mean, like, it's definitely a matter of taste. So, viewers, I encourage you to post your thoughts in the chat as well. Sergio Martinez, $49 super chat. Retribution yelling, "Ah!" Me being Sergio. That's the sound of the ratings free falling. I mean, Retribution does come off a bit desperate to me. I just think it's like they're throwing everything they can and seeing what sticks. And they're trying to go that shocking route. And this might shock some people that they're doing this. Kind of shocked me when they first started doing it. So they may be onto something there. But it's crazy, man. This could do one of two things. You could either get people interested. Well, maybe I do want to see how they handle the Antifa movement on WWE programming. Or, like I said earlier, it could piss a lot of people off and drive people away. It really could go either way at this point. And I don't really know. Noah Gale, $2 super chat. Braun not caring leads to Alexa joining Bray. I hope not. I don't want to see that. There's been so many like Alexa Bliss as Sister Abigail fanfics and theories over the years. I'm kind of sick of it. I don't want to see any female aligned with Bray for that very reason, because no one is going to live up to the expectation of whatever the hive mind or whoever is put in their heads as to be the ideal Sister Abigail. Like, if it's not Paige or AJ Lee or whatever the fuck, then I don't care. It's like, I think when the Sister Abigail thing was first introduced, it just set up so much for disappointment. Because they never got a proper payoff of that, at least not in like a human form. I don't know if that was ever an intention, but that's the way I feel about that. Monkey Man 58 with $5 super chat. Just gave my girlfriend some wrestling history lessons by watching Hogan vs. Michaels and Goldberg vs. WrestleMania 20. Now here for the Smackdown summary. I don't know what's more egregious, man. The fact you keep coming on here every week to try and push Smackdown summary as a show, or that you thought that those two matches were an example of wrestling history for your girlfriend. But I credit you for trying. I guess of the two of those, I probably would have shown them Hogan and Michaels, but I would have provided a whole shitload of context. I hope you did that with that one there. Intent Chief, $109 super chat. Ski mask guy has a bat that can't break glass. I mean, plexiglass is pretty hard, isn't it? Have we seen it break yet? I think that, There's only so much they can do, you know? They're rubber bats. I don't fucking know. Quote the Raven, $4.99 super chat. Good luck on Quizzlemania. Remember, Luke is the Brock Lesnar. He loses the belt, goes to another brand, wins another belt, chase him off with a drug test. I really need to redeem myself for Quizzlemania next Wednesday. It's going to be a tag team turmoil. It's going to be me and Alex from Queen of the Ring. There's going to be Luke and Ollie. There's going to be Fightful there, Steven Larson. It's going to be a big team brawl. I just don't want to screw it up. I feel that I came in real hot that first week when I won the trophy, won the championship and everything. I was guessing all the nips. I was guessing all the pay-per-view matches and everything. I was on fire, baby. And then the next best I got was the next week when I lost to Alex. And I've never been able to come close to that ever since. I feel like I peaked at the beginning. I really want to try and redeem myself with that one. So yeah, tune in next week for that one, folks. By the way, Quizzlemania 2000. Inigo Montoya, $2 super chat. Thoughts on Wrestle House? I don't know what that is. Someone tell me what Wrestle House is, because I don't know what that is. Dale Larson, New Zealand, $10. What are 10 New Zealand dollars? Wrestle Talk predicted that WWE doesn't know who is in Retribution. Opinion on that. Also, the worst thing to do on a pay-per-view is to have non-finishes. I would agree on both of those things. I would bet you it's like, I mean, again, they better have someone lined up. I would hope they have at least one person figured out. I would hope they have their eggs in a basket more than that, but we will see. I doubt they will. So, yeah, good luck to them on that. I'm sure they don't know who the fuck it is either. B-Man the Champ, $2 Canadian. Who's my favorite person who I've watched or collaborated with? My favorite collaboration, if not Blampier, has been Phaelus, just because that was kind of a bucket list thing for me, because I was a big fan of Phaelus. Like as I was gearing up for this channel, like Phaelus was one of my favorite guys that I would watch for his reviews on like the bootleg or the shitty like animated movies that were like knockoffs of Disney movies or bootleg zones. Yeah, and so I think it's so funny to hear like so many people get mad about Phaelus being in my Rodman Down Under video, but he's a huge wrestling fan. And, like, he gets it, and I like his delivery, and I like his shtick, so it's like, it was good for me to do that. And that's how I feel about that. So, I mean, I think as far as the first favorite person I've watched, like, kind of all time who I've consistently watched over the years is Todd in the Shadows, as far as my favorite YouTuber. Although I'm a fan of Try Guys these days, been watching a lot of them. I don't watch a lot of wrestling YouTube, and it's not because like I don't think they're good. It's I don't want to see something they do and be like, fuck, no, I can't do that idea now. Because I'd much rather accidentally do an idea similar to what somebody did than watch another channel do it, and then I get subconscious like seed planting in my head for, oh, that would be a fun thing to do, because I don't feel like I'm ripping shit off and I don't want to do that. So I want to try and like do my own thing. I try and just be like independent as much as I can. And so sometimes that means I don't watch enough wrestling YouTube. And I know I should watch more just to like get a feel for what else is out there. Inigo Montoya, $5. Rosemary would have been the only person to have worked as Sister Abigail, and she never joined WWE. I mean, of all the ladies who are active right now or in the last 5 years or so, I guess Rosemary would be the default because she is the spookiest and the creepiest and the kookiest. So, yeah, I could see her as a Sister Abigail in that hypothetical situation. I'm going to go in the chat real quick, see if anyone's told me what the hell Wrestle House is. Hang on. Wrestle House is a skit they're doing on Impact with Taya, Rosemary, and a bunch of the Impact roster. It's a reality show spoof. Oh, that's why I don't know what it is, because I don't watch Impact. Sorry, I wish I could watch Impact, but I don't really have time. Wrestle House is Impact's take on Big Brother. I mean, again, everyone's trying to see what sticks. And, like, let's try and just rip off pop culture and rip off modern stories and seeing what's going on there. And so, yeah, I mean, good on them and good luck to them if that makes it work. Quote the Raven, $2. What are my thoughts on Grimm's GTS Wrestling? I've not watched a ton of it, but what I have watched, I think it's fine. Like, you know, I feel that my stance has softened over the years on, like, backyard wrestling. It's still not my go-to thing, and I don't think I'll ever work as not. No matter how nice a backyard is, I'm not going to work in a backyard. And I just feel that, like, I mean, yeah, they have good workers. Grimm gets good people. I don't watch a ton of their stuff, so I can't really speak on it. But, I mean, from what I have seen, I don't mind. Monkey Man 58, $2. Never said it was good history. Summary forever. Well, we'll see about that. Then Inigo has chimed in one more time. I have like 5 minutes, then I got to get out of here. Yes, Wrestle House, Impact Stake on Big Brother. So, yeah, that's I'm now caught up on all the super chats. Thank you all for those of you who pledged and donated and asked your questions. Excuse me. Yeah, this was a fun evening. The show itself was not that amazing. You know, there were some problems with it, as I talked about. And I don't know where this Retribution thing is going to... let me say it again. I don't know where this Retribution thing is going to go. The optimist in me is like, the best case scenario is that it just kind of like slowly dies off without controversy. But I feel that it's just going to get worse. I feel it's just going to get stranger. This is the same company that did Muhammad Hassan and had like, let's have them be like, you know, you shouldn't be so mean to all Muslims, and then like have this dude come in and be a heel and have his goons and ski masks. Jesus, like they're so tone deaf sometimes. Yeah, it is what it is, as some people have said, and so we'll have to see where it goes, man. But it's been a rough week watching Raw and SmackDown. I don't know if my brain can handle another week of what we saw this week, because I was not having it. I don't know, man. We'll see where it goes. Thank you so much for watching the SmackDown review this week, folks. It's been a lot of fun. The next one from Monday, I don't know if I'm going live or not on Mondays from here on out. I'd like to stick with live, but I don't know. I kind of lean toward the pre-recorded again. But you'll find out. I guess you'll find out when it happens, because I don't know yet. But SmackDowns right now will remain live reviews. Wednesday Warfare, of course, is never going live as far as I'm concerned. That's just way too much, so I'm just going to go with the pre-recorded, the traditional format. Next week... This week you saw SummerSlam 98, Highway to Hell, one of my favorite pay-per-views growing up. I was really happy to do that review this week. So I hope you check that out if you haven't yet. Next week, it will be a list of top 8 worst SummerSlam moments in history. So be sure to check that one out. That's dropping next Wednesday. What else to plug? There's always the Patreon page, patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. A lot of great perks. I just mailed out a whole bunch of perks all across the country this week, from Florida to California and all places in between. Mike Cocker with a $9.99 super chat. Didn't get around to watch SmackDown this week, but judging by that grade, you should be paid for sitting through it. In a way, I am. So thank you for everything, Brian. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for the super chat. What else to plug? I know I said I was going to determine a price point and what else I was going to sell with the Paw books, but I didn't do that because I'm a busy man. But I will get that done hopefully this weekend, and I will let you all know how I want to sell it, because I know there's demand out there. When I was showing the book off last week, there was people in the chat and social media who said they wanted the book, so I'm hearing you, and I want to get these things out. I want to get them moved, but I have to figure out what's right for me. Gobbledygooker for number 1. Gobbledygooker was Survivor Series, DJ Pagao, but that would be number 1 for Survivor Series if I was to do that countdown. Maybe in November, maybe not. We will see. But folks, thank you so much for spending part of your Friday night with me. Hope you have a great rest of your night and weekend. And it's been a lot of fun. Let's do this again some other time. I'm Brian Zane, and well, I'll see you next time.